Welcome to today's video, folks. For today we're going to make Pate Sucree. Sucree meaning sweet, so essentially what we're making is sweet pastry that works super well for any type of pre-baked, unbaked, or all-in-one or baked together kind of pie. Very simple. What we're going to do first, add our flour into our mixing bowl. The next thing we're going to do is add our salt. And finally we're going to sift in our confectioner's sugar, because confectioner's sugar has a great habit of, as it sits in your in the container in your pantry or in your closet or wherever you keep it, has a great habit of clumping. Okay, so to get rid of any kind of major lumps, best to sift that into your flour. Okay, don't really need to sift the flour. Flour doesn't have the same kind of tendency to pack itself up, but very much confectioner's sugar will, especially if it's sitting there for a long time. So just running my run my confectioner's sugar through. Quick tap to get rid of any stuck in the sifter, and we're good to go. Okay, so what I'm going to do next is just mix together my flour and my confectioner's sugar. The reason I'm using confectioner's sugar and not regular sugar is confectioner's sugar generally tends to give you a better structure because it's smaller granules, so you get a better structure in your pastry. I'm then going to add my cold butter, cut super small, into my sugar and flour mixture. You can see quite small cubes here. The reason I went with smaller cubes is just to ensure that my butter is going to break up nice and easily into my dough. To start with, all I do is take those cubes and just kind of smash them between my index finger and my thumb to get them nice and flat. And what you're looking for here, how you're looking for this to resemble, what you're looking for this to resemble when it's ready to go is coarse cornmeal or sand. Okay. Quick fact, the French verb for this process is sabler, which means and sabler is also a word for sand or sand-like in French also. So basically what I'm doing is reducing this to sand. As I'm doing it, and as my butter is getting more and more broken up, I can start to kind of rub the butter between my hands like so, which is going to break it up that little bit easier. But the first thing to make sure of is that it's just kind of flat and it then looks kind of like flakes. The other thing to notice or to know about the butter, it should be super cold. So weigh out your ingredients, starting with the butter, then put your butter in the freezer for a few minutes, just as you're weighing everything else out and getting your pie dish ready and getting your mixing bowl ready and all of this. And that way your butter will be, it's easier to break it down and your butter doesn't melt during the process. Okay, there is a second way to make this Pate Sucree, I should say. There is a second way to make this Pate Sucree, and that is using the creaming method. If you have a look at my other videos, there is a step-by-step as to how we do the creaming method. And basically what we do is substitute in our ingredients for our pie dough, so our confectioner's sugar and butter, our eggs and our flour and our salt, and that is how we make that's what we use for our creaming method. Okay, so if you want to pop on over to the creaming method video, and we will and that will explain how we do it by that method. The good thing about this method, or your sablé method, is that you can roll out your dough straight away. Whereas with your sucree, you end up with something more, or you end up with a softer dough, so it's harder or it's less tolerant to being rolled out. Okay, it could melt and get super liquid and super difficult to work with. Whereas this guy, because we've kept our butter cold, we can roll it out straight away. Okay, and I'm now in the process of rubbing all of this between my fingers to make sure that I end up with nicely broken down chunks of butter. And once I get there, and it shouldn't take too long, it's not an enormous amount of dough that we're doing here, so it shouldn't take an enormous amount of time. And once it looks like coarse cornmeal or sand, I can then go ahead and begin to add my liquid. So to add my liquid, what I'm going to do, just get the last few bits of butter out of this. And then to add my liquid, make a well in the center of your mixture. Pour in your egg. Oh yes, I have obviously cracked my egg and beaten my egg together before I added it. Just an easier way to incorporate it when you don't have any other liquids. And then just let your egg and flour mixture run between your fingers until your dough begins to come together. The important thing is we don't actually vigorously mix this. We're just kind of basically playing with it until it sticks together. The reason is the more you kind of mess around with it and the more mixing you do, the more chance there is that your gluten will develop and you end up with a pie dough that is very much or is kind of chewy and tough rather than that kind of crumbly goodness that you really want in a pie dough. So you can see as it's going, it's beginning to form like a cohesive uniform colored ball, which is exactly what you're looking for in this type of dough. So to keep my worktop clean, I'm just going to bring it together in my bowl. Okay, basically you're just pressing everything together. It should have uniform color, which is a good indication that your dough is, or that your butter, sorry, has been nicely incorporated into your dough. And then, once I have my dough together, I'm going to take away my bowl. I'm going to put my dough on the table. And I'm going to take some plastic wrap. And my dough is going to go into the fridge for an hour before I take it out and roll it to fill my pie shells. Thanks for watching the video, folks. If you liked what you saw, please give me a like and a subscribe, share the video with your friends, follow me on Instagram, and remember to check back soon because I'll be posting videos regularly on my channel. In the meantime, happy baking!